rolling.
Oh.
Just kidding. We're back on Trevor's bed.
Oh, this is I guess you could call this a abbreviated episode of Collection of Goods, because it's mostly reading material. But today, Jake and I are going to talk about the first base edition that we will be releasing very soon on Friday, November 14th.
Well, it's a first bass.
Yeah, so there's many layers to the intention and inspiration and story behind the artwork and the colorway and everything to do with this yo-yo. So as I'm sure you've heard Jake and I talk on a lot of podcasts about, we had a preteen obsession with Nirvana and specifically Kurt Cobain. We're not big Dave Grohl guys or Chris Novoselic guys, just, mostly Kurt Cobain. And I think a lot of millennial teenagers had a similar obsession, especially like coming of age just afterward, because there's a little more of a whimsy to it, or whatever you want to say, a mystery to it.
Mystique,
and it's
for sure.
Mystique. Thank you.
They're like one of the biggest bands of all time, I think.
Right, yeah. And it was really like alt rock was popular in the early 2000s, but it wasn't as impactful as it was in the early 90s.
We came of age like right when all those bands like that kind of bit they were kind of like half trying to sing like Kurt Cobain, I feel like Creed and all those even Stone Temple Pilots, even though they were like contemporaries of Nirvana technically, but like they all, grunge or whatever obviously had a thing, but the early 2000s it kind of kept going into that, and there were a lot of shit on the radio that just sounded like that style. But
Nirvana, just go ahead, sorry.
He was just like I think probably, I don't know, I feel like Nirvana's pretty popular with like Gen Z and stuff, but it might be reaching where it's like considered cringe or something. But if you listen to the catalog outside of just Teen Spirit and Lithium that you hear at every like Target you walk in, like he's a very gifted songwriter, and there's great songs and great deep cuts and stuff.
Right.
There's not a huge amount of music out there. You can listen to all of it fairly easily.
What do you think? Maybe 100 songs?
Something like that. I forget the exact number, but it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like they were really the last. Like every generation of music has like a authenticity or genuine aura to it. And like you said, the whole Creed, Stone Temple Pilots, Matchbox 20 thing.
Yeah, there's so many.
Like all those, everyone that sings like this.
Yeah, they're like kind of more by Pearl Jam, I guess, some of them, like Creed, but those guys. They called it the Big Four, I think it was. It was Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains. They were the big, and they were all from the Pacific Northwest.
Right, yeah. It's very similar to how, like, when drill rap blew up in Chicago, like anybody who was just a rapper in Chicago could get $1 million from a major record label.
That's exactly
it was
what happened.
The same thing for those 4 uber successful bands. There was 24 other bands that went absolutely nowhere, but have like a similar sound or whatever. But like Jake was saying, that kind of like alt rock in the later 90s, early 2000s turned into like kind of like a copy paste, basically, or like a copy pasta, and then like
a trope or something.
A trope. Thank you. You're really killing it today. I'm following up what I'm saying.
Really cool.
And then it turned into like, pop punk became what was popular with like music, and that's just like teeny bopper bullshit basically, which I really love pop punk, but it's like Nirvana really was like, I think the last. It's like the 50 Cent of rap, where it's like gangster rap does not exist anymore. Like it does, but it's like a convoluted, weird, force-fed version of what like 50 Cent was in the street selling crack when he was 13. Like both of his parents abandoned
authenticity is there, right. And Nirvana is, it might sound corny, but they are extremely authentic. They're a 3-piece like power trio, you would call it. So it's like singer, guitar, just a guy on bass and a drummer. That's it. And
right.
But they created a huge sound, and like you said, it sort of morphed into all the copycats, and then pop punk, and then it like kind of led to now I'm blanking on the word what is Limp Bizkit?
Oh, new metal.
New metal, because
Yeah.
I mean, Fred Durst has a giant Kurt Cobain tattoo.
Oh,
I
does
think on
he?
his back
I do
or
remember that now.
shoulder,
Yeah.
and he cites him as his biggest musical inspiration, which is funny. I mean, I
Interesting.
love Limp
Yeah.
Bizkit
Limp Bizkit
shamelessly,
is
but
sick. Yeah. Like.
they're yeah, I think they're legitimately great. Rest
You.
in peace to that. I forget his
Yeah, I
name. The
forgot that
bass
guy
player
died
who's
like
died.
last week.
But
Yeah, but you just gotta compartmentalize all these. That's one thing that nowadays I think people are very fluid with what they like, and back in the day it was kind of like more you like this and like you're allowed to like other things, but it's like kind of shameful to like if you were really into like genuine authentic music,
mhm.
if you then you're like, yeah, I really like Limp Bizkit too, then people be like, what's your problem? Like, and instead now it's kind of like, oh, you can like whatever you like,
And
which is cool. But
Kurt Cobain sort of went beyond music and became like a cultural icon
Mhm.
and sort of a poster boy for like the whole Gen X, but also like for authenticity, kind of because of how he carried himself publicly, being like a 25-year-old, one of the most famous musician in the world. All of a sudden,
Mhm.
he would he was very much. I mean, he. We'll get into it with the inspiration of this first bass, but he like on his first Rolling Stone cover would wear. Well, the Rolling Stone cover was like
That the Grateful
corporate.
Dead shirt thing?
Yeah,
Corporate
it
rock
says like "Kill the
horrors.
Grateful Dead" and it says "Corporate Rock Horse." But on SNL, he would wear small bands. Like he was very much a punk rock guy and very much wanted to stay true. And
Yeah.
you can go into the lore and the
I
legend of him and how it ended up killing him. Some people just because like he couldn't deal with
yeah.
selling out and like it is I don't know, it's just like I don't even know where to begin, but
I
it's just
hate to
such a fascinating story to me.
Yeah, no, it is really fascinating and
And it's
it's
only like 3 years. It was like
right.
91 to 94 when he died. Like
It's like such a
so much happened.
massive yeah. Um and like all famous people when they die kind of like at the height of their fame, it just creates this like insane lore and like really solidifies the nostalgia for the people who are fans at that time. So like the same thing happened with Juice World and XXX and Nipsey Hussle, and like we've unfortunately seen that happen a lot in our generation or this latest
Yeah.
generation. But like every time one of those people passes away, it just creates this insane wave of like now everybody likes them and everybody fucks with them, and it's like, which is dope and like cool for their family and people that own their intellectual property after they've passed away. But yeah, most of those people died accidentally or were murdered, unfortunately. And like Kurt Cobain, like he took his own life, he committed suicide, which is also a very just not many celebrities kill themselves. When they do, it's like a huge deal because it's like to the average person, even depressed people, it's like you have everything. Why would you want to
Yeah.
take this way out? But like you said, it was the guy had a lot of issues,
It's a
but like
complex story. It gets
yeah.
simplified, and then there's also all these conspiracy theories. Courtney Love was his wife, and
Yeah, we could literally do a 2 hour long podcast just from A to Z of
yeah,
like everything to do with the guy. But yeah, hugely influential. The music is incredible. If you're like at all into fashion now, he's been hugely influential in fashion for the last
yeah,
10 years, more or less, because as the like indie sleaze era kind of ended and like streetwear kind of took off, and then streetwear leads to workwear, and then it kind of people want it to like be distressed, or people want to like dress with like a certain drape the way it drapes and fits, and like Kurt Cobain was like he never did it on purpose, like he kind of
Mm,
wore shit just to like press buttons and be
yeah, and
like a goofy
he
fly on the wall.
he was an early example of like a super famous public figure who was talked about how he just thrifted all his clothes. He was from the
Mm-hmm.
Pacific Northwest, which is where there's a lot of logging, so that's the flannels. And he's like everyone wears flannels up there out of necessity. That's what he had access to. But he was into like layering. He would wear like long johns under everything, and then like two flannels and a hoodie and like a funny hat with the earful. Like he had a
Yeah.
cool style, and I think he was more self-aware than he acted like.
Do you
Like
think
he,
so?
I mean, he was like the poster boy for apathy too. Like he was. Some of his interviews you watch now are like pretty cringe, just because he's so apathetic in them that it's
Yeah.
like, all right, this has to be a little bit of a put on, and I think it was. But at the time, now looking back, it's like, okay, we're on to you. But like back then, I think they had never seen someone that famous get on an interview and be that
Right.
down to earth or
Mhm.
like just not really give a fuck attitude,
Yeah.
which he got from growing up with like punk rock and idolizing.
It's kind of crazy because when I was a kid, it was hard to find interviews of them, or like,
Yeah.
you'd have to watch like VH1 and like they would only clip like very certain things. And now, like, being able to access just all of his interviews that he's ever done or ever recorded, like you said, it just like really adds a different layer of person
Mm-hmm.
onto him. And like from photos, he like is obviously young, but he has like an older soul or look to him. So like when you're a kid and you don't really quantify like, oh, 25 isn't really that old, but then yeah, now when you watch the interviews with him, it's like this guy was a fucking baby, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
yeah. I'm just gonna make sure we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah, and also just every generation, when they have a person who's so counterculture and rises to that level of fame, like it also instills this level of nostalgia or awareness amongst the youth, and then like kind of gets passed on to youth in each generation. It still happens now with like Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix and all these
Mm-hmm.
guys that are like amazing artists and very incredibly talented and like caused earth-shattering impact in their field of art, but like yeah, like it's always like the parents don't get it, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell is this? And then
Yeah, the other big sort of to give a frame of reference, like Nirvana's first big album with the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on it that blew them up was 1991, but they put out their actual first album, Bleach, in 1989 or 88, and that was on an independent label, Sub Pop, who's actually like pretty huge now,
yeah.
but they blew up Sub Pop too. But that the 80s and like mid to late 80s was dominated by hair metal and
Yeah.
like thrash metal, Metallica, like all that stuff. Guns N' Roses was the biggest band in the world
And it was very
by far.
performative and
And it
like
was
it's
long
cool
hair,
music,
like tight
but
jeans,
yeah.
and then this band came out of seemingly nowhere and they're wearing baggy jeans that are torn up, flannels, layers. They look crazy. They screaming, not like singing like Axl Rose,
Yeah.
no pianos, just like a lot of stuff pulled from like punk and hardcore music.
Mhm.
But it was suddenly like the biggest thing in the world, mainstream. Thanks a lot to MTV, like, and music videos coming along also. Like the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" music video is just awesome,
Yeah.
and that sort of, I think, really helped propel them. But all these different things came together, and it was like the beginning of a new decade, the '90s, like, and it was almost like a changing of the guard in the music industry.
The subject matter too in like hair metal and thrash versus
Yeah, it
grunge,
was a
it's
lot of
just like
misogynistic stuff, a lot of just singing about women and girls and drugs. And Kurt Cobain's lyrics have a lot of like, um, they're just like absurd or they
apathetic and
meaningless,
yeah.
but just sound good. He
Mhm.
was sort of treating his voice like an instrument, and just it didn't really matter what he was saying. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you could read into it and come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, it really epitomizes the Pacific Northwest because it's like if you're from there, I'm not from there, but I've spent a decent amount of time there, and it's like if you don't really have anything going for you, or you live in like this logging town or somewhere where like that's the epitome of your life that you're kind of have to aspire to be, is just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna go cut down trees. It's like that's got to be really depressing as like a young creative kid to be like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, like I really don't have anything to reach for and like think about what else to do. So that also I think contributed greatly to it versus like so many of the hair metal bands came from like LA or California or just bright sunny places where it's like people are just having fun 24/7 and getting a a good dose of vitamin D to be able to maintain
Yeah.
their mental health versus
I think
Pacific North. Yeah, go
it
ahead.
resonated with everyone because it was catchy. Like their hits were so undeniably good that everyone loved it. But then like the rest of it as a whole resonated with like sensitive kids and artistic kids, which is so different from what the hair metal like resonated with, which
Yeah.
was not those kids at all. So I think it spoke to a whole huge group of kids in the country and the world
Hmm.
who were like, just like you were saying, Juice World and even XXX, like kind of they're rappers and they have swagger and stuff, but they have a lot of like slow, sensitive tune. I think
Yeah, no,
from
that's
what
totally
I'm
right.
not
I didn't
super
even
into
think
them,
about
but
that, but no, you're very
a little
right.
bit emo or what they draw stuff from emo. I'm pretty sure XXX has said how he loves Kurt Cobain. So like they all kind of
Yeah.
reference him as like
It's always the pendulum swinging. It's like instead of like super gangster hardcore rap, it like went to like really melodic and
yeah,
like interesting musicality and stuff that like you took a little while to digest and it wasn't just surface level like A B rhyme
hmm
scheme. It's interesting and it's cool. But yeah, so the artwork for the yo-yo is a flip, which is like when you kind of take influence from an already existing logo or piece of art and then add like your own twist to it or just do something that's more interesting. And a lot of times people do this to skirt intellectual property laws because like you can claim that it's a parody and nobody would confuse this for something else. But when you do it with intention, it can be done like really cool and respectfully and like add a layer of depth and storytelling to a product versus just like this is a Reese's logo and it
yeah,
kind of rhymes with Jesus, so he made it say Jesus, and now he made a Reese's T-shirt, but it says Jesus
yeah,
instead.
yeah.
It's like there's cool, like I consider this really really cool. So, and I'll put
No,
photos
this
of
was
it
a
on
great
the screen.
idea.
Yeah,
This was Tyler's idea. It's genius, I think. But
but we're both really into Nirvana. We both like went through that phase as young people, so like it was cool to like reference that, and then the name instead of like first base, like the baseball terminology that I use to regularly do first base artwork with. And then also like I've never really divulged this information other than to close friends, but it's like a double entendre for like kissing a person for the first time, getting to first base with them. So it's like everything at the recess I try to do in like a cheeky. If you ever watch like a Disney or a Pixar movie, there's always like these PG-13 jokes and
mhm.
double entendres and puns that like kids don't understand, but the parents catch and they're like, and like give each other that look from the opposite end of the couch where it's like high enough brow or not highbrow isn't the right word, but like just goes over kids' heads and there's like, oh, it's funny, Stitch did this, and then it's like, oh, like, but this person did this. Like but there's something in there for the parents too. So I tried to make the brand palatable for younger people, but also like something there that's funny for older people. So but instead of it being first base, this is first bass, which is reference to Jake's love of fishing and being outdoors and um, it's just
And
a
it
really
also
cool.
works. So yeah, it works on a bunch of levels. So the logo is a band called Flipper,
Okay, yeah,
which is
sorry.
a hardcore punk band from San Francisco. They started in the early '80s, I think, and they're still going. I think Mike Watt from the Minutemen is their current
Oh,
singer.
really?
They've had like two or three singers. They've all passed away. But anyway, Kurt Cobain was a huge Flipper fan. Chris Novoselic even played bass in Flipper
Hmm.
after Nirvana. But so their logo or one of their logos was like this crude drawing of a fish and it just said Flipper, like handwritten. And Kurt's
Did
Nirvana's first appearance on SNL, as far as I know, this is correct, was he
I thought it was just like press photos I remember seeing
I'm
from,
pretty
but
sure he wore it on SNL. We
okay.
can fact check that. Regardless, there's photos out there. I think he wore it on SNL. He did like his own bootleg
Mhm.
version. It was a white T-shirt.
Right.
He drew the Flipper logo on it, wrote Flipper, and wore that in front of millions of people, who are all of a sudden like, "I love this band. This guy is awesome. What is he like? What is that?" And it introduced millions of people to this very underground like punk band from San Francisco, Flipper. So we took the Flipper logo. I redrew the fish a little differently with like some of my own whatever.
Motifs.
And then I wrote first bass in like the Flipper font more or less. And bass works for the fish cuz I love fishing. It works like bass cuz it's spelled BASS like bass guitar,
I didn't even
music.
think about that.
Yeah, it works
That's
on so
so
many
good.
levels.
That's funny.
And then the colorway is chartreuse with sparkles in it, which is like the most popular color for bass fishing lures. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know if anyone does,
Are
but
fish colorblind?
I'm not. I don't know if anyone really knows.
Can't ask them, I
But like
guess.
red and chartreuse seem to always work for trout and bass. I don't know anything about saltwater fishing, but like there's reason it works. There's reasons. So yeah, go to any, go to Walmart, look in the fishing aisle. You'll see a lot of chartreuse. You'll see a lot of sparkles. That's what we did. It's also just a dope color, but it
Yeah.
works symbolically as well for the first bass.
So back in the day when like Raiders first started becoming popular for 2A, they 2A players from Japan always said that these two specific edge glow colors were the most popular, which was this like edge glow yellow and then this like edge glow red, which is like they're both like transitional colors, meaning like this could be like yellow. If you ask a kid, that like some kids would say yellow, some kids would say green, and then the other one people would say like, oh, is it pink or is it red? So it's like that also kind of is another layer of the story where it's like a little bit lost on this generation in terms of those edge glow colors, but like yeah, 20 years ago those edge glow colors were like the shit and really cool.
And
And
Shinji
like
always used red, and Koji always used.
I
the
didn't know
yellow.
that, but yeah,
as
that's
far
a
as
great
I know,
point,
because they
yeah.
gave them both signature Raiders. Remember? With
Yeah.
but yes, and fact check it. What? Yeah, the first Nirvana.
Oh wow,
He is wearing the flipper shirt.
that's
so
awesome. Okay,
go watch
cool.
that on YouTube. So the introducing Teen Spirit, that song to the world on
I'm
SNL.
glad that we talked about this because when I do the mood board stuff next week, I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna have to include that because like
It's iconic. He dyed his hair red with Kool-Aid right before going on stage. Another thing that's just like no one was doing that in hair metal bands. They had like makeup people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And suddenly this guy comes out wearing basically pajamas
yeah,
and torn jeans, red Kool-Aid hair, and a hand-drawn shirt of a band no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool.
and
so
SNL
different.
30 years ago was like the epicenter of
Yeah.
culture. You know what I mean? It's like
everyone watched, and it
Right,
was just
yeah.
like it was huge. So
yeah. So yeah, there's so many layers of the story to this yo-yo. It's probably it's definitely one of my favorite first bases we've made. It's hard
It's
to
so
like
cool, dude.
yeah, it's so awesome. I'm really glad that we were able
I'm
to
honored and happy
do it
'cause
together.
when I got back into yo-yoing kind of in 2016, 15, you gave me, when you started Recess, all the stuff you had, but you gave me a clear yellow, like maybe a proto or like first run, first
Yeah,
base.
first run, yeah.
And I love that yo-yo and used it all the time. So I've been a first base fan for 10 years now.
Yeah, it's also
And-
cool with the glitter. It maybe adds like whatever half a gram of weight. Or like,
Yeah,
it's very
they play
insignificant, but you
incredible.
feel just a little bit more. You know.
Didn't they do something to the mold the past couple of years that made them smoother? And
This
less
is
B grades.
yeah. There's no B grades anymore.
Yeah,
This is
like-
just the best first base ever for some reason. I mean,
They play incredible now.
Yeah,
they
they're
always
just-
have. But
for people who don't know, I used to have to test all of the first base and go through them, and like it would take hours and hours and hours of me to process all of these yo-yos, and it was a huge undertaking, and greatly impacted my mental health for many years, just because I would have to set aside like 60 to 80 hours of 2 weeks of time to just like be complacent 8 hours a day testing yo-yos versus now like I have 3,000 first base sitting in my basement and they're just I know without a doubt that they're like all ready to go. Literally all I have to do is put them in a box and then ship them to people who order them or once they go to Yo-Yo Expert and all these places. So there's plenty of these yo-yos. Jake and I never try to artificially hold back
yeah, I mean,
supply in order to increase demand. So like, if you need to purchase other things beforehand, by all means go for it. But I think this is probably because the story is so good and the lore is so good, and I don't really know what other colors this would work on, I guess we
No.
could do a red edge glow edition too, but it's just so good that it's like I don't really see us doing this again, like this
No.
colorway or this artwork.
It's-
So
came out perfect. It probably looks, you'll have nice photos. To look
yeah.
at. Don't judge it by this podcast. Obviously, the lighting in
No.
here sucks.
What's
but
up,
we're-
Trevor? You're good. Yeah, go ahead. It's not gonna pick up on the mics.
Yeah.
They're like
Sorry for interrupting.
directional. You're okay.
Um,
Trevor's just taking off all his clothes for some reason.
in the sun, like we were outside. This
Yeah.
color looks so unbelievable.
I can't wait to put all the footage together I took of Trevor because it pops so crazy against the leaves out front and just like it's such an inorganic color. You know what I mean? There's like so few things in nature that are even close to these hues, and it's just insane.
I was at my mom-in-law's this morning yo-yoing on the porch. She was smoking a cigarette, and I was playing with this, and she's like immediately, it's like, whoa, I've never seen you using that one before because it looked so good in the
Mick
sun.
was saying this? Or?
No, Mick's mom.
Oh.
And she was like, I was like, yeah, it's really sweet, and showed her and everything, but she knows nothing about yo-yos and thought it
Nothing
was
about
like
yo-yos.
so super sick.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those
It's an
colors that's
eye-catching.
just so striking. Yeah.
And it looks like a toy, which I always love.
Yeah.
And
People, I think, I guess it'll glow under a black light.
yeah, we haven't
Probably.
tested
Yeah.
that. I'll have to.
You have a
I
black
have a
light, right?
black light.
Okay, you'll have to test it later, but yeah, good stuff. But yeah, I guess Jake and I figured also we would kind of pick out our collections of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana things. The merchandise tends to lean toward the Kurt Cobain direction because he was like the front man and like the mythical character from it, and he died. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of books written about him, and in back in the day, like the articles would be done about him. It wasn't necessarily like I guess he did his best to like really make sure the band was featured and it wasn't just about him. I
He
think
did, but he did write every song.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There's one or two that Dave Grohl contributed to and got co-songwriting credits on, Scentless Apprentice and a couple others. And for anyone who's like completely doesn't know about, like, Dave Grohl is obviously in the Foo Fighters, and like they're probably one of the biggest rock bands of the last 20 years or however long, which is kind of insane because he was literally but he was a drummer for Nirvana, and
Yeah,
then
and
like
then is
his
a
front
singer,
man killed
guitar
himself,
player,
and then
yeah.
he started another band, and it became arguably like as big, or maybe not as big as Nirvana, like legend wise, but
Yeah.
Foo Fighters has made a lot of goddamn money. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they're a huge band, and that's odd. You don't see that too often, like
I
a
would be-
drummer's project becoming.
I'd be
that
willing
huge.
to bet that like they probably still aren't technically as big as Nirvana, which is insane to
Yeah.
think about that they've been around for 20 years now.
But the fact he had to shake that, like, I was Nirvana's drummer and now I'm trying to be the front man of my
Yeah.
own band, and he managed to pretty much do it. Like,
Right.
make some great songs in his own right.
I think he's pretty critically acclaimed artist just
Yeah.
in terms of his artistry and what he's able to pull off, because he did the drums for like that really popular Queens of the Stone Age album too. That's really acclaimed, and like he's just a Prince level musician where it's like he can play everything, he can do everything. Which is surprising. He wasn't more of a songwriter in Nirvana, but
Yeah, I mean, from all the reading I've done, like we said, 3 years this all happened in,
Right.
basically, because
Yeah.
Dave didn't join the band until 1990, so they had a different drummer in their late 80s years. So there was only a couple years there, and he was pretty controlling of everything. So
yeah, I can relate to that.
yeah,
When
Yeah.
you like kind of birth something on your own and it's your baby, and it's like when other people start to come and be like, we should do this, it's like it has to be really good in order for you to be like, yeah, all right, we'll fuck around and do that, sure. Like,
yeah.
but yeah, Jake has like quite a few books. I brought this record, which
That's
I
Bleach, which we were talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
stupidly bought this in Mexico City, which is like
Really?
really funny. Yeah, it
That's
has
pretty
like
cool.
an import
Nice,
Station
dude.
sticker on the bottom. But it's not like an
Yeah.
exclusive edition or anything. It's from 2009 repress.
Okay.
So it's like I could have bought it here and it probably wouldn't have been as expensive, but it's just like something I got in Mexico.
This album is so good and so different from
Yeah,
everything they
it really
did later.
is.
He was definitely not embracing his pop sensibilities yet.
Mhm.
Although they're all catchy on this song, but yeah, and this is when they had two guitarists.
Yeah.
This guy, I forget, Jason Everman is his name,
I wonder
and Chad Channing was the original drummer.
if he did all the art direction for it, or if there was like a sub pop artist.
I'm pretty sure it was a sub pop art.
Got it. Yeah, that
Who
makes
took
sense.
this? It might have been Charles, the guy who I have the photo book. Might have taken this photo, but I forget.
Yeah, there's a lot of legendary Kurt Cobain photos too.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's so many. Yeah, Charles Peterson is the.
I swore this was. I was looking at it the other day because I was like, I swear, like I bought this because like, oh, it's like a white copy or something.
It might be
but
white vinyl.
No, I
Mine
think
is.
it's black. Yeah. And I swear I had other Nirvana records, but I guess I don't. He also like looks so much different in this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's 22, I think. So he would always, like, you go through this. I have this photo book by Charles Peterson, who check him out on Instagram. He's taken photos of tons of bands, but he's definitely most famous for his Nirvana photography. But he was always wearing like a Scratch Acid shirt or a Jesus Lizard shirt or a Melvins shirt, and it led to me and many other kids, I'm sure, like seeing that and then looking into those bands and finding new music they like.
Yeah. So
Which-
many of those T-shirts that he just wore, even like Nirvana T-shirts, are very
Sonic
valuable.
yeah.
But like the ones that he wore of those other bands
Yeah.
are like they go for so much money. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, I
Which
need to
was
get this.
he
This is a
did
good
that
photo
very
book.
by design. He knew what he was doing. Like he was promoting his friends who were less lucky or famous or whatever than him, and it literally led to like the Melvins getting a deal with Atlantic Records, a 3-record deal, and making a nice chunk of money. And that was just his friend from high school, the singer of the Melvins.
That's so tight.
He took really interesting bands to open for them, the Breeders, and like he was a big Pixies fan, things like that. So a lot of these bands that are like Sonic Youth and stuff that you just know about now were like you probably would maybe know less about if it weren't for his
Yeah, or no nothing.
bringing them to the mainstream. Because yeah,
This is a sick poster I had hanging on my door my like entire childhood, probably until I moved to Arizona, to be honest. But it's well, I think that guy took this photo. Yeah,
probably
what's his name?
Charles Peterson.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's
This
just
is-
a cool.
I think this is probably Reading Festival 1991.
Is it? He's playing the black strat
Yeah,
with the.
it has a sticker that says "as beautiful as a rock in a cop's face," and I forget the band. It was a piece of a band's merch.
Oh really?
It might have been. Oh God, I'm blanking on the name, but "The Money Will Roll Right In" is one of their songs.
Huh. I didn't know that. I thought it was just like some weird anarcho.
Yeah,
sticker.
no, it was like a. I'm pretty sure it was a piece of band merch, but he was most known for playing Jaguars again by like.
God, I can't believe this poster is 20 years old. Ed Sirs took the photo.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, out of like necessity, he would play these pawn shop guitars like Fender Jaguars and Mustangs that back then were like the cheapest Fender you could
It's
get.
so funny that was
and
a
now
pawn
they're-
shop guitar.
Yeah,
40
now they're
years ago.
if you want to buy a 1960s Mustang because of Kurt Cobain, you're paying 5 figures or whatever. But he played these cheap offset weird guitars. He was a lefty too, which is sort of unusual for guitarists. You have to like, there's not many lefty designed guitars. You have to flip right-handed guitars and stuff.
So this is the original.
No,
cover,
this
right?
is
No?
after they were pretty famous. What year?
1994. So this was like the year. This is
might be after
pretty
he died.
shortly after or before he
No,
died.
This is 2 months before he died.
3 months,
February,
yeah.
March, April. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's his last Rolling Stone cover. This is probably the posthumous one.
Did he have another one? I'm sure he did. But
Yeah,
like-
they had the one where he's wearing the corporate rock horse shirt.
Oh, that was a cover. Yeah.
This is 99, so this is way
Yeah, that was
later.
way later. But
I like this one though because it has Tom Green on the cover. One of
Yeah.
my favorite people. It has Hunter S. Thompson, Neil Young, who Kurt Cobain famously quoted in his suicide note.
they said Kurt Cobain was artist of the decade in this.
Apparently, yeah.
Interesting.
The government's marijuana report. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's a
these
very
are-
iconic photo where they're wearing suits, which is they never did except for this photo, obviously.
And like if you're younger and watching this, I know magazines don't really mean shit nowadays,
Yeah.
but like back in the day, this would have sold like 5 million copies in a week. Like like there was no platform to really consume this type of content. So like if you were into this type of stuff, you had to buy this type of media in order to like partake in it. And of course, like they covered like mainstream stuff, but like they also would have covered like indie stuff or cooler, smaller acts, and like they really did like a full, all encompassing job. Versus now, it's like, GQ is probably only covering certain types of artists, and then like if you want to learn about indie artists, you have to go online and read someone's blog or watch Anthony Fantano or whatever. And yeah, but like Jake said, there's like a lot of legendary photos of them from these covers, and these are sick.
Converse All Stars were another kind of thing that he, I think, brought to mainstream.
Yeah.
He wore those pretty much exclusively.
One
His-
stars and low top
Yeah.
Chuck Taylors. Yeah,
Seeing if there's any interesting photos in
This
here.
is such an interesting book. I've never seen this one
one's
before.
cool. Yeah, it has like neat stuff in it.
It has like cool stuff that they ripped for their own artwork and stuff.
Yeah, or a lot of this is just his artwork. He was a really good visual artist.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it when I was at PNWR a couple years ago. I think it's called Experience Music Project
Mm-hmm.
in Seattle. It's like a museum, but they have an insane Nirvana exhibit.
Yeah.
With like his guitars and clothes. I think
That's
a pair of his
crazy.
jeans sold for like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I think they're the most
recently.
expensive jeans ever sold, if I remember right.
And they're just like have all these patches on them. Some girl made them for him, I'm pretty sure. But he wore them all the time.
Do you have a copy of journals in your pile over there, or?
Yeah, so very famously too, kind of fucked up a little. They publish his journals, and it's, I think, a best-selling book. Like it's.
Oh yeah, it has to
hugely-
be. This has got to be.
But it
You have a hard copy cover?
Yeah, it
that's
goes
sick.
through his like before he was famous, like in high school all the way through.
It's
but
literally just. It's not
He-
like. I don't want to. Like it's not like it's they. What's the word I'm looking for when they
like
type it?
transcribed
Yes,
it.
thank you.
No, they
Transcribed.
just photocopied that
Literally
shit.
just scanned. Well, not scanned. I think these are like high quality photographs.
It's
taken,
pretty
but-
fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
And it is cool to hold it because you kind of feel like you have his journal in your hand. And
yeah.
like you said, there's some like really crazy visual art. Oh, wow. That's funny.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So that's one of the
literally.
covers of one of his journals. He drew the Flipper logo.
Yeah, that's so cool.
We should definitely get a picture with that, with the yo-yo. He mentions Flipper a ton in here, though. I'm just trying to find, but like it's on his list of favorite bands, along with a ton of other stuff. And
Yeah.
like that list is famous in its own right from his journals, because all the bands on it you'd recognize now, but when
And
he wrote the list, you wouldn't.
It definitely feels like the Diary of a Madman at certain points, but also like, and I'm sure this isn't like a 100% like they did every single little thing they found. It may
No,
have
not
just
at
been
all. It's
interesting stuff.
definitely curated.
Right, but like in between like bits and pieces, you will see like just like this, this
His idea
seahorse
for a
t-shirt.
shirt.
Yeah,
Which
where
they did
it's-
do that
They did do
seahorse
that,
shirt,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's like all these notes about Nevermind, like the really famous the album that they blew up off of. Like it's just crazy to see him writing where he's like, "We have no money for rent, like we're sleeping in the van on tour and blah blah blah." And then
he's this rich and like
yeah.
Here he is drawing a picture of his signature guitar from Fender, which didn't come out till
After he died.
but it was a Jag Stang. It's called. It's a mixture of a Jaguar and a Mustang, which were his two favorite guitars.
Were these? Yeah, I guess he dated this 1993. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right towards the end.
So yeah, it's when they were already famous, but
New Ideas for Melvins, that band I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite bands. Record Dale with cymbals, heavily, all this stuff. It's just like, it's really cool. I
it's
don't know.
really
I love-
interesting. Yeah.
You can really, if you're into the music and you like it, you should, go deeper because it's really fun.
It is. Yeah, like Jake said, it is kind of fucked up, but it's like still.
It's a fascinating story, a fascinating part of American culture
Yeah.
and music culture.
Like back in the day, but especially when this came out, it's like you didn't get an insight to celebrities' lives like you do now, where it's like this could just be basically someone's Instagram account.
Yeah,
where it's like,
exactly.
here's a photo of my vacation, and I just had a breakup, and I wrote this song about it. It's like this was, yeah, his life for probably 10 years or something
Yeah,
like that, and it's bits and pieces, like. But it makes me wonder if they're gonna do like another edition eventually or something.
Yeah, I don't know. This was pretty controversial, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. His
Lil Wayne loves to
top
talk about that.
50 albums of all time, and Generic Flipper by Flipper's on there. Meet the Beatles, Daydream Nation, Sonic Youth. Breeders, Pixies, Stooges. He had a wide range of influences. The Wipers they're a great band.
Jake
Swans.
has so many books.
Yeah,
from
it's got a big
Nirvana.
pile of books. I don't know if they're worth showing really, but there's an endless amount of books. This is a really good one if you just want to read about Kurt Cobain's life. Heavier Than Heaven.
Does that go more into
Um,
like his childhood and stuff?
it
Or?
goes through everything. Yeah, it's
Interesting.
like the best one I've read. I've read it a few
That's the
times.
one thing about all these books is like you read one, you're basically reading them all, or
This one
like
is unique and has a lot of good stuff.
that's
And
cool.
this one's good, but it's written by his agent
Oh.
and a lot, so it's a little bit skewed
Mm-hmm.
in some ways.
Did they talk about business much in that? I'm very curious
Yeah,
about that. Really?
yeah. If I recall, their biggest thing was like him, or their most famous like business related story was when I think he had to renegotiate after like they didn't expect that album Nevermind to be multi-platinum like
Yeah.
immediately like that,
Mm-hmm.
and he after the
So
fact
they probably like fulfilled
was
the
like
contract very
I
quickly.
get 100% songwriter on this, because before I think it was initially like the
33,
band.
33, 33.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that caused a lot of tension,
Yeah,
obviously,
I would
because
bet. Yeah.
we're talking tens of millions of dollars being funneled directly to him instead of the other. The other guys were fine; they were making good, amazing money too, but he was making a huge majority of the
Yeah.
money, and rightfully so. He wrote all the song. You know what I mean? He
It's
was the
tough
face,
to, yeah.
but I think that was tough, and it. You can go so deep into the drama in it because it
Yeah.
was like, was that Courtney Love's idea? Probably, like she probably pushed for all that stuff.
Right,
But,
yeah. My
anyway,
ex at Yo-Yo Factory definitely got in my head about shit like that. Just like how much work you do for someone else and how much they
yeah.
monetize it and you're not. And it's just like, what the fuck? Yeah,
And again, these are
okay.
25-year-olds. He's in love with, their kids,
Yeah.
more or less. They just had their first kid together. There's all this drama with that too. His daughter, because of like drug use, and then this big article coming out in Vanity Fair, I think it was,
Yeah.
accusing them of using drugs with the baby, and then leading to like CPS trying to take the kid. And it's like there was all this crazy stuff.
I just saw recently that I forget who was saying it. It was like some closely related person to Nirvana and Courtney Love, but he was saying that like Kurt Cobain turned down like a headline spot at Lollapalooza, like Nirvana would have, and it was like
Yeah.
$7 or $8 million or
Yep,
something
that
insane,
would
which
have been
is
the first
fucking wild.
Lollapalooza in '94, I think, and it was scheduled, I guess, for that summer, and he
Hmm.
killed himself in spring of '94.
Damn.
But yeah, that was a big thing because basically by the end of his life, from everything, people close to him understand and have said, it's like he was pretty much done with Nirvana, wanted to do his own thing, maybe start a new band or do solo work, but he was a heroin addict also and like in addiction, so it's hard to say where his mind really was. But he was a
Yeah.
new father. He had a young child. He had a pretty complicated relationship with his wife, Courtney Love, who was also a heroin
Heroin addict,
addict.
yeah.
He was a depressed, artist type. And it's just like all this crazy whirlwind. And then all that pressure, obviously, to do Lollapalooza when he's just wants to probably chill and do like not do that.
Yeah.
He doesn't not getting along with his bandmates anymore, not getting along with his management and label, and yeah, Neil Young famously has said he tried to call him and wasn't able to get through, but in time, but wanted to reach out because he knew Kurt was a fan, and he said I would have just told him you don't have to do any of this, because Neil Young is famously does whatever the fuck he wants also
Hmm.
his whole career and has made it work. And he's like, I really wish I could have told him. He made a whole album about Kurt after that.
Really? I
Like,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
it's called Sleeps with Angels. But he just wanted to tell him, like, dude, you can just say no, I'm not doing it. Like, you have more money than any, like, you're good.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he didn't do it in time. And Kurt quoted one of his songs, "It's better to burn out than fade away," in his suicide note.
Yeah.
Which obviously was upset. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
But
I always wonder like these really famous bands, and like you said, like they make an abhorrent amount of money, so it's like I could understand like if it gets to be too much and you're like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore. But it's like I just take a couple years off, like take a
Right.
leave of absence, because I can't imagine like building this thing with a couple people to this point where it's like, oh, this is like so successful, like we could literally do whatever, like you said, you could do whatever you wanted to and people would flock and follow it. It's like same thing with like the Beatles. Like I was reading about them this last week because it's just I've been diving into that recently, and like it was literally like 10 or 12 years, you know what I mean? And there was like huge gaps sometimes when they would release albums, but same thing where it's like 12 years is a long time, but it's like I don't know, I just think about regular people in their
Yeah.
careers and how long they do it for, and then it's like when it comes to making art and especially music, people are always just like it's like a ticking time bomb, you know, where it's such a rare instance where bands are able to maintain like
Yeah.
a positive relationship with each other, and especially like rap groups and shit, but like it happens basically with every band too, other than like a Metallica or something where it's like, oh, they take off for years at a time and probably don't even talk to each other, and then like slowly come back together and do a couple practices, and they're like, oh, this is cool, like, yeah, we could do this again. Like, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, I
I
can't imagine what that feels like. So
I think he just like if you read these journals and stuff, you realize like he was very clearly a sensitive guy. He was addicted to a really fucked up drug that makes everything in your life more complicated. Are we good? And like when you had, it's hard. It's easy to forget. Like 27 is not old. 26, like he's a
no, yeah,
kid.
right,
He's got this family, but he's got some strife in his personal life. He's got how many hundreds of people like kind of working for, like relying on him, like tour people, management, label, Geffen, like one of the biggest label. And it's like that kind of pressure
oh
is
yeah,
insane when you're already a sensitive, depressive person and you're on heroin, which is like clouding all your judgment. And he appears to was probably like his own biggest critic, like a lot of artists are, and like just all that stuff. I think is sort of what led to what happened, and it's sad, but it's like a cautionary tale in some ways. I guess there's just like so much to it.
yeah, and that's another thing that just adds to the lore and mystique and like
Exactly.
just all of that.
The
You
music is undeniably like beautiful though. And
yeah,
good.
yeah, highly recommend anybody who's watching that's never. I'm sure you've definitely heard a few songs before,
Yeah.
but like if you at all,
Dive a little deeper.
Yeah.
Try the unplugged if you want something less it's all acoustic and it's you get a better sense of his just melodic sensibilities versus his like heavier screaming stuff. But yeah, there's 3 albums and then a bunch of like live albums. So
yeah.
check them out.
But yeah, Yo-Yo drops on November 14th. I'm gonna double check that date before. I mean, it's
Yeah, I think
whatever.
it is. I can't believe it's mid-November already.
Dude, I don't even want to think about it. Yeah, November 14th, we're gonna drop it. It'll be available exclusively at Jake's store for probably at least a month, and then it'll ship. Well, it'll be at other Yo-Yo stores, and we'll just go live, and we'll tell everyone about it internationally, Japan, Europe, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, support Jake, get the Yo-Yo. Not to put too much of the business out there, but like this isn't like Jake is getting, you know, a couple $100 for doing the artwork. Like we're splitting all of the profits, so like it's definitely like a collaboration in every sense of the word. So support Jake, support Recess.
It's just a
R.I.P.
fun,
Kurt
cool
Cobain.
yeah. Support Nirvana.
Support Nirvana. Go listen to Nirvana. Make
Listen
Courtney
to Flipper.
Love richer.
Check out Flipper. I'm not super into them, but they're great.
Yeah.
It's a little more
The other,
maybe harder to
the
get
last,
into.
I guess, Nirvana lore we can cover before we turn the camera off is Kurt Cobain's daughter is now married to Tony Hawk's son,
So insane.
which is crazy. And they just had a kid, too. It's like, bro, that is such a wild lineage of DNA to be a part of.
Your grandpas are Kurt Cobain and Tony Hawk, 2 of the most iconic people of the 90s.
That's so wild. Is Kurt Cobain buried anywhere? Like, can you go to his gravesite, or is he cremated?
I think he was cremated,
Oh, okay.
but he's got to have something. No, I don't know if he does.
No, I think you're right. I think it is. He was just cremated, and I kind
Yeah.
of remember Courtney Love or someone talking about that, and yeah. Very sad, like you said, cautionary tale, but yeah, amazing band. Definitely recommend everybody to check it out, and it's, I don't know, in this day and age where you get access to so much of what an artist is, like, it's a very interesting prototype of that 30 years ago, where it's like people were just obsessed with this guy and wanted to know everything about him, and he was such like a cultural monolith that like it definitely shifted a lot of different things and caused an amazing shift in culture, and like, you know, a influence things that are still happening to this day, like Jake and I talked about
Definitely,
earlier in
yeah.
the podcast. So, yeah, awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
That's it. We could talk about Nirvana
Yeah.
forever.
Right. Yeah, that's
I